Welcome to Learning the Business of Landscape Design. I am Dan Lee. This is CAD 101. Today we're going to work on some new commands. First thing I want you to do is make sure that your drawing is set up, that no drawing aids are turned on the status bar. And if you want to check by going up to the AutoCAD icon and just make sure that you have set everything, the units to architectural, because we're going to be working in feet and inches, you'll be ready to go. The first thing I want you to do is use the rectangle command is up here in the draw menu. And so you can pull that down and you can do a rectangle or a polygon. We're going to do a rectangle. Again, I like the keyboard shortcuts, so we're going to type REC into the command line. For this, we're just going to draw, not in feet and inches, but just to get a rectangle going. We're going to use that a little bit later. So we have a rectangle. Now I'm going to turn on my Osnaps. Again, if you want to check what Osnaps are currently active, you can type Osnap into the command line. And then you can see I have endpoint, midpoint, center, node, insertion, perpendicular, nearest. We're going to turn on extension as well. And we're going to say OK. You can also just click on that down arrow. These are new things that I don't use as often. Now we're going to start a polyline. And we want to do it from the midpoint. So that little triangle shows up. It'll say midpoint if you hover long enough. And then we're going to go straight down. And then enter to get out of the command. And then we're going to go do the same thing on the sides. Using geometry, we found the center of that rectangle. Next thing I want you to do is start the circle command. So we've done that before. You can pull down the icon from the draw menu, or you can type C for circle. We're going to get right in the middle of those lines where they intersect. And then I'm going to go up until they touch the top line at the end point. We have a perfectly drawn circle inside of our rectangle. Next thing I want you to do is go find that intersection and draw a line straight down. Remember, you can turn ortho on, F8, to get a line going straight down. And then enter, we're done. It doesn't matter how far it extends past the rectangle. We're going to do the same thing going up, ortho on, new command coming up. So now we're going to work on extend. The icon hides behind the trim, so we can go to extend. Read your command line. So when we do extend, we want to read the command line. And it says select boundary edges. Make sure you're reading that correctly. Select boundary edges. So I want to extend this line up to this line. So I need to click on my rectangle. And then press enter because I'm done selecting objects. And then I'm going to click on this line. You can see how it'll extend. That dashed line is still there, so we know where we're going to extend to. And we're going to extend this line. Quick tip about the extend command. So we'll use the extend command, and then we're going to select our boundary edges. One thing that's important to note is that you have to click on the line past the middle. So if I want it to go up, here's the middle of the line. I have to select that part, or I can go down to the bottom by selecting past that middle of the line. This can get confusing in a very complicated drawing, so something just to be aware of, that it's looking for that middle point of the line. You can anticipate which direction you want that line or object to extend to. So now those lines are extended. Now we're going to use the trim command. So again, it's either extend or trim. I'm going to select the rectangle again, and now I'm going to select my two lines that I just extended. And then I'm done selecting objects, so I'm going to hit enter to get to the next part of the command. Now the trim command. So the trim command hides behind the extend command, so we're going to select the trim command. Remember, the important thing with trim command is that we're selecting a cutting edge. So a line has to bisect the cutting edge to be trimmed. I want to trim this little end off of this line at this rectangle. This rectangle is bisecting this line. So I'm going to select the rectangle. I guess we'll do this in 2 steps. And then I'm going to hit enter because now it's done selecting the cutting edges. And now I'm going to select this line and this line. And just to prove my point, you cannot select any of these other lines because the cutting edge is not bisecting those lines. So I'm going to hit enter or escape because I'm done trimming. Now I'm going to do the trim command. This time I'm typing it into the keyboard. Trim. I'm selecting my cutting edges. Now I'm going to trim this. I'm going to trim this. Check this out. I'm going to trim this whole end of the rectangle, this end of the rectangle. All right. And now I'm going to erase these lines. And I'm going to use a crossing window. All right, now we're going to draw a dial in the middle of the circle. So I'm going to start my polyline command. And then remember, once I touch the edge of the circle with my Osnaps on, it's going to give me the center point. I'm going to turn on ortho and draw a line going to the right. And then I'm going to go up to the top, and it still knows where that intersection and midpoint is, where that circle is touching that rectangle. And then I'm going to get out of that command by hitting Enter or Escape. Now we're going to review the mirror command. So the mirror icon is up here, but I'm going to type in mirror. And I'm going to select this dial. I'm going to go from the center point, and I'm going to go straight up to the top. So that is drawing a dial in the center of a circle. Now we're going to work on a command called rotate. Rotate takes a lot of patience to get. Rotate icon up here. So RO for rotate. And now I'm going to select both sides of my dial. I'm going to select the center point of my circle, which is also the end point of those lines. And you'll see now that it'll rotate wherever I want it to go. So the longer you have this little dash line, the more control you'll have over it. If it's right here, it's kind of hard to control, so you can really extend that line out and have a lot of control over it. Now with your ortho on, you have a lot of flexibility to click it here, here, or here. So let's go ahead and do that once. We're going to go ahead and select that corner right there. So now we've moved that to the side. There's another part of rotate that I use every day, which is rotate. So doing the exact same thing. We're still going to pick the center line. And now if you read your command line, you can do a reference. So R for reference this time. And this is where it becomes redundant, because now I'm going to pick that same center point. I'm going to pick the top of my dial, and now I can move this to wherever I want it to go. You can also rotate, and if you know the angle, you can specify the angle. Like from here, if I want to rotate it 180 degrees, there we go. Now it's pointing the opposite direction. So that is the rotate command. Thank you for watching Learning the Business of Landscape Design, CAD 101. Please follow us on YouTube at Learn Landscape Design, and don't forget to subscribe.